Hello everyone, just Goran here and welcome to another Planet Zoo Quick Tricks tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at null bridges. As you can see over here, this is a really cool thing that you can use to make some awesome things for your zoos. As you can tell, I have this very thin little rope bridge which is completely made out of construction pieces because, of course, the path here is invisible. Now, how did I do that? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at here today. I do have to say that this does use the freebuild mod. If you're not familiar with the freebuild mod, you're truly missing out. It is one of the coolest mods that just unlocks so many things in the game that are locked behind stupid restrictions. And yeah, the freebuild mod allows you to be free of those and just go completely ham. So I'll link that in the description below, and I'll also link a tutorial by Leaf on how to install mods for if you're new to modding. But yeah, I highly recommend that you use the freebuild mod because it's just really good. But disclaimer over, we're just gonna get started. So I will today show you 3 ways of making null bridges, starting with simple, going a little more advanced as we go. So make sure to watch until the end so you know everything about making null bridges and you can choose what you need for your zoo. So let's get started. Over here I have some things set up already, but over here we can kind of basically see what it's all about. Just straight path, null in the middle, and well, it's not actually null. We'll see how it all works later. So let's start off with the simplest method, which is also kind of an introduction on how this is done. With freebuild, of course, you can edit the terrain around paths. You can just completely freeform it, whatever you want. And what you'll notice as you start to drag the path down is that, hey, this guy is walking midair. So that's it, right? That's how you make null bridges. Well, not exactly, because if we were to save and reload this zoo, we will see that now our keeper over here is actually walking not where he was just walking before, but on the kind of, let's see, he's going to turn around, isn't he? Oh, okay, but on the bottom of the terrain again. So when you reload, it resets. Well, how does it work then? Well, you simply didn't go down far enough. In fact, you can actually check whether or not your null bridge is going to work by looking at this little blue outline over here. If it is down here on the terrain, that means it's not going to work. So let's drag our path even further down, and now we will see that it has snapped back up over here. So basically what you want to do is move the terrain down by at least 4 meters, and then it will snap back up like this, and you know it works. So if we just drag this along over here, then if we reload the game now, the keeper will be actually on top of this path. But you don't need to do that, because lesson number 1, if you change out your path for a different one, it will actually reset the path's traversable area, let's call it. It's not actually called that, but let's just say so for convenience. So it resets it. So now now the keeper just walks on the path as if we had just reloaded it. So it reset it. But you could just see the keeper actually dipped down over here because, of course, over here the path is less than 4 meters moved down. So that's why the keeper is still going to go up and down like that. So that's kind of the downside of doing it the simple way, is that you will have these kind of dips. So how do we fix that? Well, that's where method number 2 comes in. The no dip method, as I would like to call it. It uses a tiny sliver of elevated path that makes it so that the keeper does not dip down on that part of the terrain. It's a little tricky to do, but I'll show you all you need to know. And yeah, the only downside of this method is that you will have this small bit of elevated path that you then have to go and hide. But it does work amazingly. So all you have to do to get it to work is, if you have your path like so, We're going to take out the ends of it, of where we want our bridge to be. And all you really have to do is hold Control, hold Shift, and just slightly pull that up. So if it's on the ground, hold Shift. Yeah, my movements of my hand are already doing it for me, but you just barely have to move it up just so that you have technically an elevated path, but it's still on the ground level, you know. And then we place that just slightly close to where we want our path to end. And now it's going to, if we disable angle snap, it's going to snap on like this. And that's actually perfect because it can make it nice and straight. And then from that path we can move on straight and attach it like this. And we'll just do the same on the other side. So we hold Control, hold Shift, move it slightly up on the edge there. Attach it like this. Nope, not like that. Like this. And alright, now it's attaching to the staff room. Oh, there we go. Fixed it. So yeah, then you have those elevated paths. Now, of course, we did use a 4-meter path just now, so the path is 4 meters long. If you don't want it to be a 4-meter long path, we can actually go back to this. And with freebuild, you can decrease the width of your path to like 2 meters. So let's do that. And we'll just make little 2-meter things like this. Add a 4-meter path over here. And just press right click to like break free from that path. I just hold Control again. We're going to move close up to this one. And need to be slightly higher for it to be straight. There we go. Just like that. We're going to attach it. And then you can get rid of those two if you want or not. But that is how we connect that up. So here we have a slightly shorter elevated path that way. Just a little trick, a little finicky. It's not necessary. It's just if you want that for aesthetic reasons, that's the thing you can do. But now we have our path, and just as before, it's the same process. So we go all the way down, check if we're down far enough by using that blue line, and we are. So we can go all the way to this side, all the way to this side. And what you want to make sure is that you go as far as possible underneath that elevated path that we made without going down on this level. So over here, that's actually kind of perfect already. But over here, I could tell that we did dip down a little bit like that. And that is something that we want to avoid. So we're going to take our path, holding Y for freebuild to work. We're going to get that up a little bit. Looks like we have a tiny sliver over there. Let's just smooth that out. And that should work just fine. So of course we don't have to reload. Once again, we can just update this path to a different path type to make sure that it is working. And I will see if he dips or not, which he doesn't, because that's the trick. So yeah, that is how you make the non-dip version of the path. Now, what I almost forgot to mention is, yes, you do have to go down 4 meters. But of course, if you don't want to have a ditch that deep for your bridge to go over, you can, of course, always take some building pieces and move those into your ditch so that that is how it works, basically. That will work just fine. And as long as you don't have terrain on that level above the path, it'll just work. So building pieces are no issue for this whatsoever. So now that we have all of the important things covered, we're just gonna look at a slightly more advanced application of this, which is the hanging rope bridge. So over here we have a nice gap that we want to have our bridge in. And of course, like we've seen, as soon as you dig deeper than 4 meters, the path snaps back to where it was before you remove the terrain under it. So if we make a curved path and then move the terrain, it is still going to be a curved path. So we can use the terrain stamps to dig out a nice little trench over here. That one's actually a little steep. Let's make it a little wider so that we get a less steep curve. And this way we have a nice curve for our bridge. Of course, you can also like free from the terrain. You can do whatever you want, but the stamps are a nice way to get a very clean result. So now we are going to go as straight as possible. We could try to do it ourselves, but you want, for a bridge like this, you kind of want your edges to be on the edge like that. So let's try to make it as straight as possible, and we'll have it somewhat like that. Let's hook those up like so, and from here on it's really the same as it was before. So we're going to hold Control Shift, there we go, attach that, same on the other side, Control Shift, attach, and we can attach that to the thing, and this keeper should start moving. There he goes. So yeah, wait a second, I messed up. Yeah, as you can see, it was auto attaching to the things which got rid of the elevated path. So you just want to not do that. So you just want to do it this way. Now make sure that you keep those elevated paths, of course. Sorry for that. Something else I forgot to mention here is that if you want to have anything on your curved bridge like this, or any bridge in general really, is that you probably want to make the building pieces part of it right now before you lower down the terrain, so that you still know where your path is actually going to be. Because after you move the terrain down, of course, there's nothing for you to align to, or yeah, kind of know where your pieces are going to have to be to meet up with the feet of your guests. So what I did here is I just aligned the surface, put in all my planks right now into the curve, and then after I got rid of the terrain, the guests lined up perfectly. So yeah, now let's move on. But now we can dig under here using freebuild. Oh, I put it to 10% earlier, so we're just gonna dig nice and deep. Doesn't really matter. Of course, you can choose how you want to dig for your own zoo. It just depends on your situation, really. Here it's just to show it off. So of course, now we can see that our path is still nice and curved. So if we get our keeper back in here, we should see, even after updating the path. So let's get some nice bamboo over here. Oh, that is interesting. I've not seen that before. It's kind of snapping the path together. That is a bummer. Alright, so I guess if this happens, and this never happened to me before, you are going to want to probably reload instead of updating the path. But that is a bit of a bummer, because the next thing I want to show you is that if you turn on railings, not railing on elevated, railing on ground path, because this is technically a ground path, the railing still shows up when you create your thing. I'm going to do this and hope that it doesn't mess it up. It looks like it kind of did, but you get the idea. Overall it works pretty well. Just a little bit finicky here and there maybe. But yeah, the railing shows up, so that's how you can make some really cool looking rope bridges using the bamboo fence. But you know, experiment with some other railings, see what you can come up with, because I'm sure there's really cool things. So yeah, invisible bridge. Of course, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. You can put glass in there, you can put like planks that you can actually look through, or you can just make really thin looking bridges, you know, without having to deal with this huge piece of concrete that normally hangs under an elevated path. So the abilities, the options are limitless, and you can really just kind of do whatever you want. But that is pretty much it for this tutorial. Hope it was clear, hope you enjoyed, hope it was useful to you, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!